welcome back to We Are Tottenham TV for yet another pre-match pump-up where, look, today is important. We sit 3 points ahead of Villa. We win today and pick up at least one win in the remaining 2 games. It should secure some sort of European football for Tottenham. So, as you can see, we've got Jack on the panel today along with Amir as well. You guys out there, let us know how you're feeling in the comments about today's game. Whether you're pumped for it, whether you think we can get the win, whether you think we can't, let us know in the comments. Make sure you smash the like button, do all that sort of good stuff, that subscribe button as well, and feel free to send in a super chat, highlight your point, we'll bring it up and give it a good discussion. We'll be bringing you all the way through the live lineups, all the way through to the watch along with Ben and Sim in studio. So hopefully you stay with us and enjoy the conversation until then. Jack, how are you keeping, my man?
Doing okay, Dave. Getting a little in that nervous stage. We just came back from the pre-match build-up. I thought your job, in that one was to convince me, to start singing 5-0s and 6-0s. But I'm not sure if I'm at that stage yet. Maybe after this one, double pump up, I could be. But I'm a little nervous. I feel like there are a few different score lines you could imagine. I mean, recently away from home, if you had any sort of expectation going into Liverpool or Newcastle, it was quickly quite humbled. It was quickly, ridden away. And so you have to kind of keep that in mind, right? Like this whole away form of Spurs has been absolutely dreadful. And the way that we've come out the gates has just been unacceptable of recent. So I have that in the back of my mind when it comes to Villa, which I'm a little nervous about because it is a big game. It is still, a game that matters at the end of the day. And we'll see whether the players have any sort of kind of steel about them to be able to pull through and be able to put in a better sort of performance than they did in the other big away performances that we needed them. But I also feel like recently there have been some slightly decent signs that maybe there is at least some players that are kind of playing for Mason. So who knows, Dave? It could be, like I said, a few different outcomes, a few different score lines today.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens. But look, it's not the big game we wanted. It's not like we're fighting for Champions League football. It's not like it's a cup final or fighting for the league table, or the league title. But at the end of the day, I do want European football here. So I do want to see the team fight today, even though for me it is way too late. But Amir, how are you keeping, brother?
Yeah, I'm doing well. And I'm definitely feeling Jack on the nervousness, considering what happened up at St. James's Park and up at Anfield. He's definitely right to be nervous. However, my spirits have been a little bit buoyed by the performance against Palace. Mason's changes that he's made, the cojones he had on him to get Dyer out of there and move to a bit of a different tactical formation and pushing their Royale into the defense on the left side and playing him alongside Porro. So, I really think that this is kind of a real test for us and a test for Mason because, he's up against the manager here who, yes, he got a lot of mockery and, a lot of laughs at Arsenal and good evening and all that, But in actual fact, Emre is, I hate to big up an ex-Arsenal manager, but he's a very good manager. I mean, you just have to look at the Europa Leagues that he's won. So I think it's a huge day for Mason, a huge day for us. And, David, when it comes down to European football, I'm definitely, with you on that. I want European football next season. And for me, unless we get a victory today, our chances are slim at getting it. So I really want to see the lads go out there, be defensively solid, and try and nick a win. That's my hope for today.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice, Amir. Let's welcome a few people in. We've got FT34. Let's play Big Yourself Up. Donovan Uskariker as well. We also have Pilati Mamabolo. Big Yourself Up, my man. We've got Andy in the building as well. We also have Minchi. Big Yourself Up. Great to see you. Donovan, Evan McCabe, Carl Higgins, Daniela Zito, good to see you. Rooty too, great to see you. Erwin, hopefully you're keeping well, Erwin. The guy from Watford, I guess, that I was speaking to the other day. Big Yourself Up, my man. He says, how are you today? Think it will be 2-2. Come on. The Desmond, you've gone for the Desmond 2-2. Big Yourself Up. Big up Jack Bloom as well. Good to see you. Also, Raymond Sheepers, great to see you, my man. He's gone with a 2-1. And Jerry Jr., also Scotty Hynam, Carl Simpson as well. Big yourselves up. Yeah, look, on the European football, Amir, for me, like I think I was saying this last week, it's got to be used in the right way. I don't want to see same players, same culprits that have been rolled out, whether it's been FA Cup, League Cup, Europa Conference League, Europa League, or the Champions League at times. I don't want to see the same culprits rolled out and get the same stuff. And I think it's not even a debate about Spurs fans wanting to be in the competition. I just think the ones that are saying they don't, me personally, I feel that they just don't want to be embarrassed in Europe again, like we've seen time and time and time again. However, we have to get back to the stage where we are providing a pathway, we are using it right with the kids. People say, oh, you can't do that anymore. Liverpool have done it. When Liverpool were competing on all four fronts, they were playing some of their kids and their academy players and stuff like that throughout some of them cup competitions. Yep. And at Tottenham, we have to get back to that time. We can't keep expecting to roll out our best 11 players just to win a football game. At some stage, if you have hungry enough players who want to do the right thing, you will see the difference between a Tottenham and a Sheffield United, say, if we had players in there who are hungry for success, not hungry to increase their bank balance. And that's the biggest difference. A lot of the money that them competitions offer, you see some of these guys being rolled out, and it's like, we don't care. It's minuscule money into our pocket at the end of the day, whether we play or not today. And also, they're coming to the tail end of the career. That hunger's gone. That desire's gone. So it's about using it right. It's about trying to use some of the under 17s, under 18s in future, providing a pathway for them. Because the only way you're really going to know if they're good enough is by having a look at them. Because what we're doing is we're sending a lot of these guys out on loan, and no one's keeping tabs on them. There's no eyes on them. So it's about, competing on all four fronts and using the squad, to be able to go out there in some of these games and trusting these guys to get the job done. So hopefully that is the case. Sorry, Jack. Did you want to say something?
I was just going to say, I think I agree with you, Dave, that part of it does have to do with how much, the bank balance comes into it. But I think, at least me personally, this is just my opinion, but I think more of it just has to do with their sort of mentality of the fact that they believe they are better than some of these competitions, right? When these guys who haven't even been played for weeks get rolled out into the Conference League, they kind of just thought they were better than that. They complained to Nuno saying, we don't like being part of a B team or a B squad. And it's just sort of like, well, you're not really getting games anyway. So like, why would you complain about the games that you are being given? And that was sort of the culture we had, where players who weren't even playing in the first place were being given games. And then those games they were given, they were saying, oh, like I'm better than this. I shouldn't be given these type of games. And when you have players at that sort of level that are complaining about any sort of competition, any game they're given, then it is going to lead to where maybe you do have to play your best players in every single competition. You can't rely on the guys just to do their squad. And it's also, I think everybody talks about this, Dave, but it does mean something for a reason. Everybody should know their role. Everybody knows their part. Everybody plays their part to make it a good season. You're not, everybody gets to have the minutes of a Højbjerg or a Harry Kane or, players like a Sonny. You might have a season where you're only going to get 400 minutes, and that 400 minutes is going to come in those cup competitions, but make the most of it. Do your part for the team, do your part for the role. And it feels like we've just had a bunch of guys that actually think more of themselves and think they're better than that competition, think that they're better than what they're being handed, in terms of minutes. And that's where it does lead to an issue. I think you look at Jose, he didn't look down on the Conference League. His players didn't look down on the Conference League. You look at other teams in these FA Cups and the Carabao Cup, you see the likes of Man City winning the League Cup every single season. They don't look down on it. They don't seem to look down on those competitions. All those squad players know their roles.
It's not these managers looking down on the competition. Someone like Jose, it's been that way for years. In these cup competitions,
why do we look down
rounds, right? And stuff like that. They've always put out some academy kids along with players coming back from injuries, along with players who are on the periphery of the first team. It's always been that way. It's an example at Tottenham. It wasn't Jose looking down at the cup competitions. It was the players that he had to choose from that he put out there that let him down. And since then, we've seen him let down other managers doing that. So it's not about these managers not taking it seriously. They understand there has to be rotation. There has to be rest for other players. And when they do that, they get bit in the bum and they end up, taking the slack for it.
I've been a bit skeptical about whether sometimes they say, oh, the manager doesn't care about that competition. It's like, I'm not really sure if that's the case, especially when it was with Jose Antonio, guys who really care everything about winning, right? It would seem a bit odd if they just sort of threw those competitions to the side and all they cared about was top four. I think what was the case is that they had players that simply they knew were not going to give them what they needed in these sort of games to rest other players and do their role. And if they they found themselves in a bit of a, what is it, trapped, a bit of a between a rock and a hard place where they risk, having to lose the result to players who don't want to play in it, or risk playing the players who have already played way too many minutes as it is. And it's led to just a bad mixture. But you shouldn't need to be in that position. Like, that's not the manager's fault, at least in my opinion. I don't think
it's a catch-22, Jack, isn't it? It's a real catch-22. And, for anyone that's saying that Jose doesn't take things seriously, you just see what he's done with Roma last season and what they're trying to do this season.
Correct.
And David, I think you're spot on when it comes down to the squad. And, having players there on the bench and in the periphery, they really want to get the way into the first team and get playing and get scoring. When you look at that Liverpool side that won the Champions League and leagues, you had someone like Origi who, he didn't start week in, week out, but anytime he got his opportunity, he came in and he scored goals. We've just lacked that, the left, right, and centre. And I think that, the issue that we've got is that there's no future planning. There's no 10 to 7 to 8 year plan. There's just nothing of the kind. And we suffer for it. What we really need, it's all good, us talking on here and saying, yeah, we want to get the youth involved. But for that to happen, we need, one, a director of football, and two, we need a manager. At the moment, it's just all up in the air, and we're just being bantered. And you're seeing other clubs go off and already start doing their business. We can't even start to talk about doing business because we don't even know in what direction we're going. Yeah. So it's very, very frustrating to be a Spurs fan, especially this season. The manager merry-go-round just keeps going round and round and round. I was speaking to the missus earlier and explaining to her how important, longevity is in the managerial role, and looking at someone like Sir Alex and the things that he'd done up at United. And then I told her how many managers we had, and she just laughed. And she doesn't know a lot about football, but she gets that. You know what I mean? So,
even the longevity thing, I mean, it stands. You look at Pep Guardiola, look what he's built. Yeah, you can throw the money at him, but to do it for as long as he's been doing it, it takes skill, and also it takes time to get it right all the time. You look at what Jurgen Klopp has built in Liverpool with time. You look at Tottenham's best times. Harry Redknapp was here for a number of years. Martin Jol was here for a number of years. Pochettino was here for a number of years, and you do need time in football. Unfortunately, with Abramovich, with the quick cash, we've sort of got into a period where no manager's really been given any sort of chance. It's like they'll automatically have to come in and hit the ground running, and that's why you'll see very few managers sort of resort to you, give you a chance. That's why you're seeing a lot of them products having to go down lower leagues and across Europe, this, that, and the other. Because that longevity isn't there anymore. It's all now. Whereas if you actually give the manager everything he needs and let him build it, you will have a more sustained period of that success than what you would by hiring and firing managers. And we've got ourselves into that rut. Sorry, Jack, just take over. I got something in my eye.
No worries. I was going to say, Mir, I wouldn't blame your missus if she's actually forgotten what manager we're even on, at this stage. Maybe she still thinks, we have Nuno or something like that. It's been practically, becoming the new Watford over here at Spurs. We're a few minutes away from lineups here, Amir, and I'm going to pull them up. But, before we, let's say pull any sort of captain hindsight, maybe moments here, let's just, give our sort of ideas on who we want to see in this lineup maybe ahead of time. And maybe I'll get you started with this idea, Amir. Would you stick with the same 11 or would you make some slight changes to what you saw against Crystal Palace?
I would go with the same 11, Jack, to be honest with you. I reward a winning mentality and a winning defense. The fact that we managed to keep a clean sheet and we look half decent, back there. I would stay with it. And I think Richie as well needs to stay on the pitch, get his confidence up. I'm really hoping he nicks a goal and, it just keeps that confidence building and building. I do think we have enough up top to get the win today. Richie, Son, Kane, they got an injured Matty Cash coming back there on the right. Son's going to be hopefully tearing him apart. I'm really hoping that we can do it. And I do think that the same 11 needs to be rewarded for the win last week. And hopefully the players on the bench, Jack, can come in hungry as well, because we may need them. You never know how it goes in football. Someone could get injured in the second minute and boom, Kulu's in there, or Danjuma or anyone else, Pape Sarr. So we have to have the whole team pulling in the right direction today.
I'm with you, Amir, where it's like rewarding the winning team, right? They got the clean sheet too, right? And you don't want to just discredit that or throw that out the door. But do you feel like there were any players that weren't exactly playing at the best of levels, like maybe weren't at the 7 out of 10, maybe they were a bit below that, below the rest? Because I know Dave, before I let him in on it, I think he feels like maybe Ben Davies wasn't exactly on the same level as the rest of the players against Crystal Palace. Would you consider, if Longley is available, would you consider leaving out a Ben Davies, throwing in a Perisic, or do you feel like you got to stick with that same back line? Just want to press you a little bit.
Look, Ben Davies, it seems like he does all right sometimes, and then sometimes he can have lapses of concentration. Whether a Langley or a Perisic could come in there, I mean, it's definitely a change that you could make. Just the fact for the consistency and the fact that we did manage to keep a clean sheet, I would stick with the same backline that we had last week.
For me, Amir, I feel like for me, Amir, I feel like Ben Davies, it's like he's defensively solid when you need him just to do defensive work. But when you do need to ask him to do a bit more on the ball, and you kind of need him to do more of the traditional sort of fullback work, which is right, getting up and down the pitch, helping out, you know, the wingers and making overlaps and sort of being that kind of, you know, nowadays you need to be pretty good on the ball, it feels like, as a fullback. Like you need to be able to take on your man, need to be able to put in a good cross and everything. And it feels like Davies, when he's a fullback in a back four, it's like he sort of gets caught between two minds of like just being defensively solid, but also needing to help out, you know, going forward. And I think when he does help out going forward, he doesn't always bring his best. He actually wasn't all that bad though when he played as a wing back, maybe because he had that sort of defensive support behind him, so maybe he knew he could risk going forward a bit more often. But it feels like when it is a back four, he gets caught kind of in two minds, right? And that's where it's not like we're probably hyper criticizing him, but at the end of the day, like if you were to make a change, I don't know, Dave, I believe that's sort of the area that you were kind of thinking about, that a change could be made. I'm not sure what you thought of my sort of, is that where you're coming from with Davies? Like in a back four, he can't exactly bring that edge going forward or that creativity, right?
You there?
Yeah,
Dave.
Oh, you're speaking to me? I thought you were saying it to Amir. Oh, look, for me, for me, to be honest with you, look, Davies defensively last week, not a problem, right? I thought he done a very good job defensively.
Yeah.
But, you know, we only scored one last week. We didn't create an awful lot for how much we sort of dominated the ball. I don't think you're going to get away with that at Villa Park today. And for me, especially if we want to move forward as a football club, I think you've got to go with Perisic today. You know, Ben Davies on the ball, he gave it away a number of times. He at other times he refused to open his body and just pass it inside. But what you have is the opposition players are already reading that body language and they're already on the way. So as soon as that ball goes into midfield, they're under immense pressure. So for me, when it comes to Ben Davies, I think, look, take him out of the team. You know, bring in a Perisic and let's see what it's like going forward. Because if this is a system we're going to persist with, we can't keep having a lopsided system where you've got one who's defensively solid and one good going forward. The reality is what fans wanted was Perisic in here, you know, to give us something going forward, and Porro in here to give us something forward. So let's go with that. That's what fans wanted. That's why many fans wanted Conte sacked, because they wanted to see attacking on the front foot football. So let's see what we're like with Perisic and Porro. Let's see how good Langley.
You're not going to see it though, Dave, because you got Davies instead. There's the lineup. You have Forster in goal, Royale as, I assume, the right back. It looks like it's the same exact 11. So we've stuck with the same 11 here. Here's what I would say. As much as I think there could be some changes made, I'm not too disappointed with it. I agree with Amir's logic. At the end of the day, it was a clean sheet. This is more of a real test, though. This is away from home, like I brought up in the very beginning. The team away from home has been an entirely different side. They sort of seem to collapse inside the first 15 minutes, then maybe get into the game a bit later. This time around, I mean, they just can't risk it at all, because especially like Villa Park, we all know it's going to be a difficult atmosphere, and it could be, you run the risk of it being a Newcastle again, where if you sort of let things slip, you know, where you go 1-0 down, 2-0 down, don't expect yourself just to claw back into it. Like they will pounce on you and they will take, you know, go after more. So I'm curious how they stand in this, but Longley and Romero, no Dyer. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with sort of,
no Dyer on the bench.
No Dyer on the bench.
No, he's gone. No, Matthew Craig is in. I think it's either Matthew or Michael Craig, but one in Emery. And do you know what?
That's
We
an
don't know
interesting
whether
one.
we don't know whether it's because of injury or anything. But look, for me, I said last week, if you're going to take Dyer out of the team, what's the point of keeping the fucker on the bench either? He's got to go. He's not good enough. You know, start putting some youngsters on the bench.
Could this be if it isn't an injury thing, Dave? Could it be a mentality thing like it was with Lloris? Like, could he be a problem person in the squad? It seemed that, I mean, that was the case with Lloris. Clearly, they sort of exiled him from the squad because they seemed to know that, you know, maybe nobody's getting along with him or something happened. Could that have happened with Dyer here? Maybe some sort of
course he is, Jack. How many times have I
stuff
been
of some
saying,
kind?
you know, you see Dyer walking around, blaming everyone else, pointing and everything else like he's in Terminal 2 up in Dublin there, guiding in planes. It's absolutely ridiculous, right? You know, and when you're other players who are pulling your weight, who are not making the mistakes he's making, there's only so much you can take it at before you absolutely implode and tell him some home truths. He's been a massive problem here. He's made excuses under multiple managers, you know, for his performances, for his mistakes. And I'm fed up with it. You know, own up to them, and go out and do better. Try and do better. He's been a massive problem. You know, he's also, you know, him and Hugo Lloris, they've had a massive say in terms of the culture set around the club, which we're going to get onto, which Harry Kane has alluded to not being there. Ryan Mason doubled down and backed Harry Kane up for saying it. Jack, it's something that me and you have been saying for about 2 years now, about that not being there, no one setting the standards, this, that, and the other. The problem we've had is these guys have looked to hang on to their Tottenham career at all costs, rather than having the best interest of Tottenham in mind. And if they did, they would have opted out a long time ago. If they did, they would have owned up to their mistakes a long time ago, instead of making excuses. So for me, I'm glad the two of them are gone. I'm glad.
I think it's a big call. I really doubt it was an injury of any kind. If it is, you know, so it be. But I don't know. I think Craig, you know, being thrown in there too, Dave. I'm not sure if you know, but he might be, I'm assuming, probably a defender of some kind that's being thrown in there too as well. He's brought up a kid from the under 21s, which is good to see. Ryan Mason. We all know that he probably has a deeper knowledge, or at least more of a how would you say, like he's more willing maybe than other managers to give a kid a chance, or at least even give him this type of opportunity just to see it from the bench. And like you maybe saw, Dave, like you'd probably rather this guy Craig be taking up the bench, you know, that position, than Eric Dyer. I mean, it's more useful to have him sitting there, you know, picking up the atmosphere, learning from this experience than it is to have guys that have been sitting warming these benches for years. And I mean, this guy's going to probably, even if he doesn't play a minute, he's going to benefit from even just this whole experience in general.
Yeah, look, I'd rather Darrington than Craig, but beggars can't be choosers, right? I got what I asked for. I got a youngster on the bench, so I'm happy with that. No Hugo, no Dyer. You know, we seen the benefits of it last week. Hopefully, we double down and see the benefits of this week. But Amir, I mean, what's your thoughts? No Dyer in the squad altogether. I'm going to check Twitter or Alistair Gold.
I can check for you. I'll check an Alistair Gold for you, see if there's something.
But Amir, what's your thoughts? Interesting, right? No Dyer anywhere near it.
I'm delighted, and it's just showing that Mason, you know, he does have the cojones, and he is willing to, you know, we were kind of on his back the other times that he's led the club out, that, you know, he picks his mates and all that, and, you know, he's a Levy yes man. But you know, he seems to be a man of his own mind, and you know, making his own decisions, which is only a good thing. And getting on to the point of, you know, the Dyer and Lloris, it seems that at Spurs we have a culture of hanging on to players for too long when they're not good enough to be at our club, and then they end up stinking out the place, and, you know, bringing bad atmosphere to the squad, and just basically leaving dead wood drifting around the place. And then on the other hand, we also seem to make the same mistake of releasing players before they've even really been given a chance. So, you know, what I would love, David, is that we had someone that comes in and that actually understands how to develop these players. I think if you go look over the last decade and look at the players that we've lost and the mismanagement, you know, that the club has done with a variety of young talents, it's beggars belief. It's beggars belief. And, you know, Trippier is a great example of that. I would have probably kept Toby and Jan around longer. And there's plenty more on that list. And, you know, we all know what happened with Dele Alli, but this guy could have been sold for 50 million when he was at his pomp. And yes, he's let himself down in many, many ways. But did we also let him down? You know, with the management style and not being able to kind of take him under the wing and give him the confidence that he needs to progress his game. So it's a real mess at all ends when it comes down to the behind the scenes things. I'm just hoping that with this lineup, you've got a lot of hungry players there. Porro's coming very hungry. His attacking play is fantastic. Richie's finally getting the starts that he's been craving. So I'm really hoping that this team can go out there and give us a performance today. And I'm feeling confident.
Same. And it is Jack, you're on mute.
Sorry about that, everybody. Alistair Gold says Eric Dyer misses out through injury for Spurs.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder is it a Hugo Lloris injury where he's out to the end of the season? We seem to be hearing a lot of this lately, right? Ryan Mason never alluded to an injury in his pre-match press conference there yesterday. So I wonder is it one of them Hugo Lloris injuries, where it's sort of self-diagnosed to the end of the season because they're a problem. But obviously we're not just going to come out and say that. Let's wait and see. But it is Matthew Craig on the bench. The guy is a central midfielder. So be interesting. I don't think he'll get any minutes today anyway. But, it's good to see these young lads maybe get the experience in the squad. But look, we've got Ash Matic in here as well. Really late with Ash Matic. We've only got 20 minutes left. Where's this guy been? Ash, where have you been?
Working 9 to 9. Dolly Parton style. Trust me, I've been busy like a bee. Yeah, clapping it, man.
We've got the lineup. What's your thoughts? It's unchanged.
Same as before. I think defensively was solid. So I think he expects to just carry on as we were, man. I thought possibly Richarlison may have gone out because he didn't offer too much attacking wise. So maybe he could have switched it up with someone a bit more front-footed between Danjuma and Kulu. I know Danjuma used to play for under Emery, so could have been an option, but he's just decided to go with the same team. And it was a winning team, so I think he wants to carry on that performance. But we haven't won away, so it'll be interesting to see how these players perform at the Villain Park against the Villains.
Yeah, be very interesting. Very interesting. One other thing that's pissed me off is why Lucas Moura is back on the bench. I mean, have we not learned our lesson? Cost us against Everton by being sent off. Cost us against Liverpool. What did Tottenham Hotspur do? We reward him with a place on the bench, even though he's leaving anyway. Again, why not give it to a Mundell or someone like that? Because at the end of the day, I don't want Lucas Moura to come off the bench. I don't want to see him anymore. He's done. That annoys me. But
yeah, he's practically, what does it cost us? I mean, at the end of the day, whether you love Lucas or not, he has hurt us in terms of points in less than 12 minutes of football played. Like in 12 minutes, he's caused a lot of damage in the time that he's come on.
We just need to keep learning our lessons. The more of this dead wood, old wood that you're getting out, the better teams seem to look. So continue on in that vein and get rid of Lucas Moura. But look, I can understand maybe him picking Ben Davies over Perisic to keep it. You don't really change an offence that's kept a clean sheet. But
could he have thrown in a Basuma?
Richarlison, bit of a contentious talking point for me. We've seen a lot of his battling qualities of late and stuff like that. But that link-up play just isn't there. Does he deserve to keep his spot in the team over Kulu today?
I think he does, personally, just because Kulusevski, in my opinion, Dave, has been given a lot of chances. Like he has, been rolled out time and time again, even when he's had his sort of, it's been weird with Kulusevski because he has good games and then you feel like, maybe you should give him the nod. But ultimately, when it comes to the goals and the assists, he just hasn't exactly been producing in that regard. And we've been giving him a lot of chances, more so than I think maybe other players. And Richarlison, though, it's difficult because the only reason he hasn't been probably being picked as much is just because he's always injured. And he's even found himself injured when he's not even playing very much, which is also kind of frustrating. So it's a bit of a mix where I feel like Kulusevski's been given plenty of chances. I think he probably should continue to come off from the bench. He's made a lot of impact, I feel like, when coming off from the bench anyways in games. And then Richarlison, you kind of keep his spot in the team. He has that, box presence where if Harry Kane drops deep, Richarlison can sort of fill in that role as an auxiliary striker. I do like what Richarlison's been doing. He could be a whole lot better. Don't get me wrong. He could be a whole lot better, but I do kind of like what he's been bringing. And to be fair, I just feel like Kulusevski's been given plenty of chances.
Yeah, fair point. Fair point. Amir, my man. Look, many people maybe don't like the partnership of a Skip and a Højbjerg. Mason right to roll that out again instead of maybe giving Papa Matasar a chance out there.
So I think that's the one position those two positions there are ones that, you know, you really could make changes. If Basuma was, you know, not just coming back from injury and was a bit more fresh, I might even stick a Basuma in there. And Sarr, you know, I think he really does deserve a chance, because we saw him against AC do well. Against the Scummers, he was probably one of our best players. So I really do think that young fella's got a really bright future in the game. I just think that for this one, the stability of having the same team in there may just help us get over the line. I do agree with Ashmatic. What he's saying about Richie, you know, he's got to show more. He's got to do more. I do believe in giving him the chance today and letting him try and assist and get on the score sheet. I would say that the player that maybe could sneak in there ahead of him, because Jack's spot on as well. You know, Kulu's had a ton of chances this year, is Danjuma. We haven't seen enough of him. And when we do see a little bit of him, he shows good glimpses. He's, you know,
it's almost like we hate it when he takes his chances and then we punish him by putting it back on the bench.
yeah, that's it, Jack. Isn't it? It's weird, you know. He scored on his debut. You know, he's hectic. He makes things happen. He runs around. So, you know, we might see him, you know, 65th minute come on. But yeah, all in all, I'm happy with the lineup. I just, you know, really hope that we don't concede in the first 20 minutes, please. God, please.
Spot on.
Yeah, it's absolutely crucial. Absolutely crucial. Ash, I want to get into this question maybe for the last sort of 15 minutes, and we'll start with you and work our way back up through the panel. But Harry Kane claimed in an interview with Sky Sports that some of the values which the club had gained under the management of Pochettino had slipped since the Argentine's departure. Now, Ryan Mason was asked about in his pre-match press conference, and he's also come out and backed Harry Kane and doubled down on it, saying, I agree with him. I'm happy he said it. He's one of the people I want to drive it because of his stature at this football club. Now, what Harry Kane actually said is, I think whenever you have a good moment as a team, I think we had 3 or 4 really good years and we were competing at the very top, and that was without spending loads of money. We had a really good mixture of young and experienced players. It's impossible in football to clip your fingers and go back to the good times and say, let's go back to what it was, because every season and every situation is different. But I feel like there were some values at that time and some culture that really made us achieve the things we did. So maybe we've lost parts of that over the last few years, and it's about looking to get back at that and seeing the good things we can take from that and trying to implement that in the future. Now, very powerful words from Harry Kane. I mean, and Mason.
Yeah.
When you look back on that time, Ash, and compare it to now, what values and culture do you think Kane is alluding to?
It's a tough one because when Conte was around, I thought the culture was hard working. It was very hard working, and the players that they brought in were of that ilk, you know, hard working midfielders. He wanted his team to work hard. When he took over, we were bottom of the stats when it came to running. And then all of a sudden, our stats went sky high. We were like the best team when it came to running. So I'm trying to figure out what he means by that. I understand like maybe philosophy and ideas of how the game should be played. I think that might have been lost because obviously under Pochettino, they were a lot more attacking. And then Jose came in and they turned us in from a high press into a mid to low block team. And so the style of football was very much different. And then again, 2 defensive managers came in after that, and they were both, Conte more so, very much a low block defensive outfit. And so I'd understand if he was saying, you know, those type of principles, they've kind of lost their way. Because maybe they're speaking code, and you have to kind of read between the lines. That's how I'm looking at it. Some of the players, obviously, Poch had real good relationships with those players, and I think Kane sees Poch like a father figure, and I think also Mason as well. I think Mason learned a lot under him. Even when he took over from Mourinho, he kind of went back to Poch's system. We went back to the principles that Poch was doing in the pressing type of system. So maybe he's alluding to that. That's the only thing I can think of. In terms of maybe the the committee, I think that's like watching that program, All or Nothing, where the players walked off. Danny Rose went to I'm going to Daniel, and then hearing this committee, footballers committee, that have a meeting with Daniel. Like, soon as the Newcastle game was finished, Daniel was like running down the stairs to jump in, and then on the WhatsApp group talking to the players. So I just feel like maybe that culture needs to stop, because it can't be I'm going to Daniel culture, like when anything goes wrong. Oh, you want to sell me? Oh, I'm going to Daniel. Like, do you know what I mean? That that to me is it's all wrong. It's all wrong. So maybe
it's laughable. It's laughable,
maybe,
Ashmatty.
yeah, I yeah, it is laughable, because even when I'm talking about it, I can't even keep a straight face. It's like, I'm going to that, guys, I'm going to Daniel. Like, bypassing the manager, like, it's wild to me. Let's go to Daniel, guys. Like, I think that's so wild. Like, there's a room where you could just press that button and it takes you into his office. So I don't really know, like, what he means and what Mason means by that, and that's the only thing I could pick up from that.
I'll go on to you on this, Jacko, and then we'll let you go. What do you think Harry Kane's alluding to there, Jacko? Do you think he's alluding to more than just the squad? Is it bigger than that? Is he also alluding to maybe the rotten culture that's existed over, from the top down for the last 4 years since that era as well? What do you think he could be alluding to?
I think he is alluding to the entirety of Spurs and the whole club from top to bottom, but I don't think he's exactly pointing, giving more blame to one thing or another, because he absolutely does call out the squad, as well. Even you and I, Dave, just the other day, were dissecting some quotes of his where he said that at Spurs, it feels like new players, when they come into the squad, there's not a lot of real standards or principles that have been set by other players, that have been set by sort of the team in general, to allow a guy to sort of, fit in seamlessly and be able to hit the ground running. He feels like it's actually quite hard for a lot of Spurs players to come in and hit the ground running. I think that's even part of the principles and the culture that he's talking about that's maybe gone missing. It also, though, comes from the very top, where he did see probably a huge change in the likes of Spurs, where they always went after young, attacking, progressive, sort of managers that did sort of like to play maybe a pleasing, sort of football for the fans, that did get the fans going, but also at the same time was at least sort of tactically maybe ingenuitive or tactically, innovative enough that Spurs were always kind of, to a degree, everybody's second favorite team, or they kind of were kind of like the Brighton right now, where everybody liked to watch Spurs. Everybody enjoyed sort of how they played and how they went about things. And maybe Harry Kane feels like we've diverted a bit away from that. He probably feels like some of the players that we brought in have also kind of helped or, caused us to divert a bit away from that, because it doesn't seem like there's a lot of responsibility. We talk about how little accountability there is in the team. When things go wrong, they kind of all go hiding. They all sort of seem to maybe never go and face the media. Even when they have, it's always been a bit underwhelming. I think especially in Hugo Lloris's part, it's always been a bit underwhelming when he's come out to the media in his case. And maybe that's what he's alluding to, Dave, is there's really just he doesn't recognize the club from when he was probably originally being brought up through it, when it came to the style of play and how Spurs want to play. But also, I think he's seeing a lot of guys that he can't really look to as people he really respects, in the squad. I think there are very few players in the team that Harry Kane actually truly believes in and truly respects and feels like, deserve to wear the shirt like he does. And I think that's also part of it. I think he's calling out the ownership and calling out their lack of accountability and their lack of, effort, and their lack of, delivering the goods and, keeping that winning culture. But I think he's also calling out the squad too.
Interesting. Amir, do you agree with Jacko that
it's good to see Mason agrees with him too, because Mason said, I wholeheartedly agree, I believe, in his press conference, which is good to see. So they're on the same page, him and Kane. Sorry.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Amir, do you agree with Jacko that it's sort of a bit of both? It's not just the players he's talking about; he's also maybe talking about the owner standards or Daniel Levy standards have slipped as well.
Every word set in stone, to be honest. And the fact that Mason's just backing Kane up just shows you how right he is about everything. And I've actually seen a really interesting comment here by Hisson Bluff Hoggies. He said, just the fact that Rose says Daniel and not Mr. Levy shows that the chairman is too close with certain players. Your chairman ain't your friend. And I think that just sums it all up. Daniel Levy, he's got a house out in the Caribbean. Why doesn't he just go on a long holiday, a couple of years out there, and just get a director of football and manager in that will do the whole football inside? He needs to just bugger off out of anything to do with the football inside of Tottenham Hotspur. And then hopefully the culture can change.
Yeah. Yeah, look, it's... Daniel Levy needs to change the culture, first of all. He needs to make it known that we're a club that's going to challenge for all four teams that we pursue, that we're entering in at the start of the season: Europe, Premier League, League Cup, FA Cup. Once you set that standard, that'll work its way down to the manager and that'll feed its way down to the players. But not only have you to set that standard, you've got to back it. Rather than throw managers under the bus and putting them out here, but even though we know certain players are not good enough to be doing it for some time, you back that manager, you say to that player, off your pop. That's what you do. You need to start giving the manager a bit more power and say around here to bring back what Kane is saying. Because when Pochettino came in, he had the power. He was allowed to get rid of a lot of the old stale players that were here. Yes, he used a lot of sort of young players that were here at the time. But, he started getting results and stuff like that. And for me, you've got to give that manager that say. If he doesn't want a Dyer here, fuck him out. If he doesn't want a Lloris here, fuck them out this football club. Sentimentality is the reason why we're in this mess in the first place. Because you have players here that have dictated the culture, that have dictated the leadership groups, etc., that should never be in that position in the first place. Nowhere near that leadership group whatsoever. And ultimately, because they've been here so long, they sort of are running that dressing room. And it's just not good enough. So, in order to sort that out, you've got to say to a manager, you want them gone? No problem. We'll go and get you a guy you do want in here. That has to be done. But I'm glad that someone like Harry Kane is speaking up, standing up and talking about it. Because, look, someone like me, I've tried to highlight it. But who am I? At least someone like Harry Kane now has come out and said it, and it's clear to everyone out there exactly that, behind the scenes in that dressing room, it is not good. It's not good. You hear reports, then you hear other people going, oh, but they're only paper talk, this, that, and the other. So now we've got it from the horse's mouth in that dressing room. So I'm absolutely glad he spoke up about it. And I'm glad that Ryan Mason doubled down on it and said he backs the guy with it as well. Now, guys, just quickly before we end off, I want to go around. I want to get your score predictions. But I also want to know where you're at with Mason. Interestingly enough, I put up a poll in my pre-match build-up. Mason had over 50% of the votes. And the question was, do you think he deserves a shot at the Tottenham job? So, look, we'll start with you, Amir. We'll get your score prediction and let me know whether you think Mason deserves a shot, and also plug what you need to plug, my man.
Wait a second. I mean, over 50% thought Mason deserves.
We'll have to do it again. We'll do another poll. We'll do another one. We'll see how it goes. You got to do a sample size.
I'm absolutely shocked by that. I'm absolutely shocked. I'm sorry for all the love in the world that I have for Mason, and I do love the guy. He's not ready to lead this club forward going for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Could he be part of, assistant manager to someone coming in? I wouldn't be against that. Could he be good going off to the championship and learning his trade a bit? I wouldn't be against going that and bringing him in a few years later down the line. But no, he's not the man to lead us forward next season. With regards to score prediction, I think we're just about going to get over the line. I'm going to go for a 2-1. Kane and hopefully Pigeon Man Richie is going to do the business. As long as he doesn't do that dance after he scores, I'll be all right.
Oh, no, that's part of the hype, man. You got to sit there and do it with him. That's what it's all about, brother.
But every time he does it, it just something ends up bad happening.
he's offside, or Lucas Moura or someone else, takes it away before you even get a chance to round it off. But look, I get people don't like the pigeon dance at all, but for me, it's a bit of crack, Why not rub it in when you get a goal? We've been clamoring for small bits of joy this year.
Oh, I love the dance, David. I love the dance. I just don't like what happens after.
Yeah, true. And Amir, where can people find you, brother?
People can find me over at Israel Uncovered. I'm trying to show people the beautiful sites, nature, archaeology, everything that Israel has to offer. So please do check that out. And I'm on Tottenham on tour every now and again, promoting Leave It Out along with Daigle and the rest of the crew over there. And just one other thing, a little birdie tells me, Ashmatic, you got some big news. Is that right? Or
wow, how did we get onto me so fast? Yeah.
Big congratulations in June.
Yeah, man. They call me Father Ash now. Father.
Wow.
Congratulations, Ash.
Congratulations, Ashmatic. Everyone, big up Ashmatic.
Project Mbappe is on the way.
The best gift you can get in life, my man, is having a child. So fair play to you. I'm buzzing for you.
Big up.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
But look, while we're with you, is Mason the right man? Would you give him a chance? What's your score prediction?
It's funny because I just thought of a little predicament. I thought, imagine Kane only stays if Mason stays, because like after he said that comment and then Mason's backing him up. Wouldn't it be funny? Like, because I'm starting to think, who's going to keep Kane? What manager has the credentials that we have left that's going to say that Kane's thinking, yeah, you know what? I want to play for this guy. Do you know what I mean? I still think Mason needs a job away from Tottenham.
Yeah.
And he needs to earn his stripes away, because it's all good and well taking a game 5 or 6 games over and having a few good performances here and there and a string of results. But it's different over a bigger sample size, over a whole season.
Yeah.
And we don't know what it's going to be like over a season when he has to come up against real tough tests like, Brighton or Chelsea, or do you know what I mean? Like, so it's going to be different conversation when it's a whole season. When you're just taking over, it's kind of easy to take the team from here to here because you're just trying to lift moods up. You're trying to bring up spirits and energy, and you kind of know how it was as a player, et cetera, et cetera. So I just think do the route that some of the other managers have done, take a championship team, or even go abroad. You can go abroad and do his thing, and then see if those tactics work with another group of players and see what you're made of, as opposed to like jumping the gun, because I feel like he'll be jumping the gun a little bit. By just, I know he's done academy. I know he's done under 15s, under 16s, 17s.
Needs more, though. He needs real first team.
But he needs that, yeah. He needs that first team football over a longer period, in my opinion. Respectfully, guys, that are Mason in. I just think now's not the time, and I would hate to ruin his reputation now, because now he's got a chance. He's got a chance to finish the season strong and put respect on his name, and then he can go out and other clubs are going to look at him and think, hang on a second, I think Tottenham missed out on something here. I'm going to take a punt on this guy. And then he'll land a top job in the championship. And if he gets them promoted, then then we can all say okay, Mason's playing good football and he's got good management skills. Okay, back to the actual predictions. Sorry, guys. Predictions. So I am going for a draw because it's a pump-up show. I don't want to be negative.
You can go with a draw if you want, my man.
Yeah. I'm gonna go for a draw. I hope I'm saying a draw so that we win. That's what my logic is. And I just think we haven't won away from home since January or February. I think it was Fulham was the last game we won away at Craven Cottage. And then I'm thinking Aston Villa have won their last 5 games at home. I know they lost their last 2 games, but that was away from home. So logic dictates to me that, Emery might be a better tactician than Mason. I could be wrong, but I think tactically, I think Emery's going to be able to outthink Mason. Let's find out. Hopefully I'm wrong. And that's my prediction.
I agree with you. I think Emery will. I think he definitely has tactics set up. Interesting that you alluded to Porro. I have a feeling he feels if he stops Porro, he stops Tottenham's attacking threat today. I really do believe that. Let's wait and see what happens there.
And he brought in Bailey as well on that side.
Yeah, true. But Ash, where can people find you, my man?
You can find me on the streams of Southview Coys. I'm there most of the time. We're like a growing channel, so please subscribe. And yeah, man, it's banter. We're banter over there. But we talk football as well. We get into tactics, whatnot. But yeah, you can find me there, and sometimes on your show and your streams, guys. And yeah, all over. Wherever I get an invite, I basically go. Even if I'm not invited, I'll be like that black cat, that stray cat.
And he was in studio here at We Are Tottenham TV yesterday as well. Very good appearance, my brother. Well done.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Jacko, over to you, my man. Ryan Mason, do you think he deserves a chance? What's your score prediction and where can people find you?
Ryan Mason, in my books, hasn't made himself look silly or made himself look like an idiot. Fair play to him, because you've seen guys like Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard definitely have. So, I mean, fair play to him in that regard, but he doesn't deserve the job whatsoever. I mean, it's way too much of a step up. And it's also, I think the next manager that's coming in here, he's going to basically be like a sacrificial lamb, where he's going to have to get his job done very quickly, and he's going to have to get his hands dirty. And I kind of don't want to put that sort of pressure on Mason. I'd rather we be really in the depths of despair and where he has sort of a free hit, and then he can maybe take it on. I'd rather it not be in this sort of scenario. I'm going to say, Dave, there's going to be a score line of 3-2. I know Villa haven't conceded in a while, but we are still the third or fourth best attack in the league. We can score 3 goals at Anfield. I feel like we could score 3 goals against the likes of Aston Villa. The problem is that we concede to anything that moves. So that could make it, a tough one, where it might end up being, I think in my books, a high scoring game. So I'm going to say 3-2. Hopefully Spurs are on the good end of that 3-2.
Come on, Jackson. Come on.
I hope so. For me, look, I'm not even going to get onto my comments on Mason. You want to hear my thoughts on Mason, come across the Irish Hotspur and smash that subscribe button. For me, look, I'm going to go a 2-0 win today. No Eric Dyer on the team. I think Tottenham have the possibility of keeping another clean sheet. I think Kane will score one. I watched, there was a video of him going into the stadium. He looks ready. Lean, mean, and motivated machine. That's what he is today. So I'm going with Harry Kane to score one, and also Sonny's picked up form. I'm going with him to score the other. But guys, that is it from us. This great panel here. You've got Amir, you've got Jack, you've got Ashmatic, and everyone get in the comments. Congratulations to Ashmatic. Thank the boys for turning up today. I really do appreciate it. Just quickly as well, also Shawnee couldn't be with us. Shawnee's a bit under the weather, so make sure you put in some love for that guy into the comments as well. A massive part of these pre-match build-ups or pop-ups as well. Yeah. But guys, that's it from us. We're going to hand you off to the studio. As always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Since we're on WeAreTottenham TV, we got to go with the We Are Tottenham TV army we trust.
With Benetton, we trust, but all the thick up boys. Love you, Shawnee.